The Great Hall of Nexara Prime sparkled with 1,000 colors. Representatives from 847 different species gathered under the crystal dome. They came to celebrate an important anniversary. 450,000 years ago, humanity had vanished from the galaxy. Most species considered it a blessing. Captain Jiwan stood at the edge of the celebration hall. She was Valorian, with silver skin that reflected light like water. Her people remembered humans differently than most. The Valorians had been friends with humans once, long ago. But today was not a day to speak of such things. Today, everyone celebrated the disappearance of the dangerous species called humanity. The speeches began. Elder Kravoth of the Heliodan Concord spoke first. His voice boomed across the hall. 450,000 years ago, the galaxy was saved from chaos. The humans were contained. They vanished. We have lived in peace ever since. Jiwan felt uncomfortable. She knew the real story. Her grandmother had told her the truth before she died. The humans had not simply vanished. They had been driven away. The Galactic Council had tried to destroy them. But the Valorians who protested were silenced. Thousands of her ancestors died trying to warn humanity. Her people had lived under Council control ever since. She left the celebration early. Her ship, the Cosmic Dawn, waited in orbit. Jiwan was an exploration captain. Her job was to map old star systems and search for resources. Today she had permission to visit the Sol system, the old human home. Earth still existed there, but no one could land on it. Ancient defense systems protected the planet. For 450,000 years, those systems had never failed. The Cosmic Dawn entered the Sol system 3 days later. Jiwan's crew consisted of 12 Valorians. They were all young, all curious about the legendary human homeworld. As they passed Jupiter, the sensor officer called out, "Captain, I'm detecting something strange near the edge of the system." Jiwan moved to the sensor station. "What kind of strange?" "A spatial distortion. It's huge. And it's growing." Jiwan felt her hearts beat faster. Valorians had 2 hearts. Both were racing now. "Show me." The screen displayed the readings. Space itself was tearing open near the Kuiper Belt. Energy readings went beyond anything Jiwan had ever seen. Whatever was coming through used technology that shouldn't exist. "Get us closer," Jiwan ordered. "But keep our distance. Prepare to jump away if necessary." The Cosmic Dawn moved carefully toward the distortion. Through the view screen, they watched as space rippled like water. Then something emerged. It was a ship. No, it was 1,000 ships. They poured out of the spatial tear like fish from a net. Each vessel was enormous, larger than anything the Galactic Council had ever built. The hull designs were ancient, primitive even. But the energy signatures were impossible. These ships bent physics in ways that modern science said couldn't be done. Jiwan's communications officer spoke with a shaking voice. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's in hundreds of languages, including Old Valorian." "Play it," a voice filled the bridge. It was human. Jiwan knew that immediately. She had heard recordings of human speech in her family's secret archives. The voice was deep, calm, and absolutely certain. "This is Admiral Daehyun of the United Human Naval Service, flagship Indomitable. To all species of this galaxy, we send this message. Humanity has returned. We remember what was done to us. We remember who tried to destroy us. We remember everything." Silence fell on the bridge. Jiwan's crew stared at her, waiting for orders. But she had no orders to give. How could she? Humanity was supposed to be gone. Humanity was supposed to be a myth, a story told to children. More ships kept emerging. Jiwan's tactical officer was counting. "Captain, I count over 3,000 vessels now. And they're still coming." The lead ship, the Indomitable, was massive beyond belief. It was shaped like a sword, 10 kilometers long. Lights ran along its hull in patterns that hurt to look at. The ship existed in normal space, but also seemed to exist somewhere else at the same time. Another transmission came. This time it was directed at the Cosmic Dawn specifically. "Valorian vessel, this is Admiral Daehyun. We know your people tried to help us. We know your people paid the price. We have not forgotten our friends. Please transmit this message to the Galactic Council. Tell them humanity remembers. Tell them we're coming home." Jiwan's hands trembled as she opened a channel. "This is Captain Jiwan of the Cosmic Dawn. Admiral, where have you been? Everyone thought you were dead. Gone forever." There was a pause. When Daehyun spoke again, his voice carried a weight of sorrow. "We've been in hiding, Captain, waiting, growing stronger, learning. It has been a long time for us. A very long time, but we never forgot Earth. We never forgot what they tried to do to us. The Council will panic, Jiwan said. They'll mobilize their fleets. Let them, Daehyun replied. We didn't come back to run away again. We came back for what belongs to us. We came back for Earth. The transmission ended. Jiwan immediately sent a message to Nixara Prime. She knew it would cause chaos. The celebration would turn into an emergency session. The entire galaxy would learn that humanity had returned. As her message traveled through space, Jiwan watched the human fleet organize itself. The ships moved with precision that spoke of centuries of training. No, not centuries. These humans had been gone for 450,000 years. What had they been doing all that time? How had they survived? And what had they become? The sensor officer spoke again. Captain, I'm detecting more spatial distortions. All around the Sol system, there are more fleets coming through. Jiwan felt a chill run through her body. This wasn't just an exploration fleet. This wasn't a small group of survivors. This was an invasion force. Humanity had returned with an army. She thought about the Council's celebration. They had gathered to toast the disappearance of humanity. They had laughed and made jokes about the primitive species that vanished long ago. They had no idea what was coming. Jiwan's communications console lit up with incoming messages. The Galactic Council was demanding information. They wanted to know what was happening in the Sol system. They wanted confirmation that the reports were wrong, that humanity couldn't possibly have returned. But Jiwan knew the truth. She could see it with her own eyes. Thousands of human ships now filled the space near Earth. More arrived every minute, and they all carried the same message humanity remembered. Humanity had returned, and humanity wanted justice. The galaxy would never be the same again. The Galactic Council chamber erupted in chaos. 847 species shouted at once. Some demanded military action. Others called for negotiation. A few simply screamed in fear. Elder Kravoth tried to restore order, but his voice was lost in the noise. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Daehyun watched the human fleet assemble. He was a tall man with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. He wore a simple uniform, dark blue with silver trim. No medals, no decorations. He didn't need them. Everyone in the fleet knew who he was and what he represented. Commander Yuna approached him. She was younger, with short black hair and sharp features. She served as the fleet's chief strategist. Admiral, all ships have emerged from fold space. The fleet is ready for your orders, Daehyun nodded. Send a message to Ambassador Taeyong. Tell him to prepare for contact with the Council. It's time they heard the whole story. Yuna hesitated. Sir, are you sure? Once we tell them what really happened, there's no going back. They'll know we've been preparing for this moment. They need to know, Daehyun said quietly. They need to understand why we left, and why we came back. 450,000 years ago, Earth had been very different. Humans were still young in the galaxy. They had developed faster than light travel only 50 years earlier. They had made contact with a dozen alien species. Most were friendly, some were not. Admiral Hyejin had commanded Earth's defense fleet in those days. She was Daehyun's ancestor, though so many generations separated them that the exact relationship was lost to time. Hyejin had been brilliant, fierce, and dedicated to protecting her world. The warning had come from the Valorians. A massive fleet was approaching from outside the galaxy. They called themselves the Nexus Imperium. They specialized in one thing: destroying species before they became powerful enough to threaten established civilizations. The Galactic Council had hired them to eliminate humanity. Hyejin had faced an impossible choice. Earth's defenses could hold off the Imperium for a while, but not forever. The planet would be destroyed. Billions would die, unless she did something unthinkable. The Fold Space project had been experimental. Human scientists had discovered a way to create pocket dimensions, small universes that existed outside normal space and time. They could build habitats inside these pockets. They could survive there. But once they entered, there was no guarantee they could ever leave. Hyejin had made her decision in less than an hour. She ordered the evacuation of 50 million people. They took 300 colony ships into Fold Space. They took genetic samples, cultural records, and everything needed to rebuild human civilization. They left behind Earth's automated defense systems and a promise. One day they would return. On the Indomitable, Daehyun remembered the stories his mother had told him. She had been born in Fold Space, as had her mother before her. He was the 15th generation since the departure. But in fold space, time moved differently. While 450,000 years passed in the normal universe, only 3,000 years had passed for the fleet. 3,000 years of isolation. 3,000 years of survival. 3,000 years of advancement. The fleet had grown. The original 50 million people had become 80 billion. They lived on mobile habitat worlds, massive structures that drifted through the fold space dimensions. Children like Minho and Sora grew up never seeing a real star, only the artificial suns of their habitats. But they learned. Oh, how they learned. Without interference from other species, human science had advanced in ways that normal physics didn't allow. They mastered dimensional engineering. They learned to manipulate quantum fields. They enhanced their own biology, becoming stronger, smarter, longer-lived. Lieutenant Yunji had spent her entire career studying the history of departure. She was the fleet's chief historian. Her job was to keep the memories alive, to ensure that no one forgot why they had fled or what had been done to them. She stood now in the archive chamber of the Indomitable. Around her, holographic displays showed the last days of Earth, the final messages from the planet's defense AI, the recordings of the Imperium's attack, the Council's betrayal. They thought we would just die, Yunji whispered to herself. They thought we would give up. But humans didn't give up. They survived. They adapted. They thrived. The decision to return had not been easy. Many argued for finding a new home, far from the galaxy that had rejected them. Why risk everything to reclaim a world that might not even be habitable anymore? Why face an enemy that outnumbered them 1,000 to 1? Admiral Daehyun had answered simply, because Earth is ours. Because they took it from us. Because our ancestors died believing we would come home. We owe them this. The vote had been unanimous. 80 billion people agreed. They would return. They would reclaim Earth. They would show the galaxy that humanity could not be erased. Captain Minho commanded one of the fleet's strike ships. He was young, only 50 years old, but he had trained his entire life for this moment. His ship, the Silent Thunder, was designed for rapid insertion and combat in hostile space. He had never seen Earth. None of his generation had, but he felt connected to it anyway through stories and dreams. Beside him, his operations officer Sora monitored the fleet status. She was a diplomat by training, but every officer in the fleet had to know combat. There was no separation between military and civilian anymore. Everyone had a role in the return. Captain, Sora said, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They want to negotiate. Minho smiled grimly. Of course they do. Now that they're scared, they want to talk. Forward it to Ambassador Taeyong. This is his specialty. Ambassador Taeyong was the oldest human in the fleet. He had been born on Earth before the departure. He had been a child when the evacuation happened. He remembered real sky, real oceans, real wind. Those memories had sustained him through 3,000 years in fold space. Now, finally, he would see Earth again. He stood in the communication chamber, preparing to speak with the species that had tried to destroy his people. His hands were steady. His voice was calm. He had practiced this moment for centuries. The Council's image appeared before him. Hundreds of alien faces stared at him with fear and confusion. Elder Kravoth spoke for them. Unknown vessel, this is the Galactic Council. State your intentions, Taeyong smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Elder Kravoth, I am Ambassador Taeyong of humanity. You may not remember us, but we remember you. 450,000 years ago. Your predecessors tried to exterminate my species. They failed. We survived. We grew strong. And now we have returned to claim what is ours. Kravoth's face showed confusion. Humanity, but you disappeared. You were gone. How is this possible? We hid, Taeyong said simply. We waited. We prepared. And now we're here. Earth belongs to humanity. We intend to reclaim it. You can surrender peacefully or you can resist. The choice is yours. But understand this. We did not come back to negotiate. We came back to take what was stolen from us. The transmission ended. Taeyong felt a wave of satisfaction. For 3,000 years, humanity had dreamed of this moment. The moment when they would face their enemies and declare their intent. The moment when the galaxy would learn that humanity could not be destroyed. Commander Yuna approached Admiral Daehyun again. Sir, the Council is mobilizing their defense fleets. They're not going to surrender. Daehyun expected this. How many ships? 300,000, sir. They outnumber us 100 to 1. Daehyun looked out at his fleet. 3,000 ships against 300,000. Any sane person would call it hopeless. But Daehyun knew something the council didn't. In 3,000 years of isolation, humanity had learned to fight in ways the galaxy had never imagined. Let them come, he said quietly. It's time to show them what humanity has become. The fleet began to move toward Earth. Behind them, fold space portals opened, and more ships emerged. The council thought they had seen the entire human fleet. They were wrong. This was only the vanguard. Humanity had come home, and they brought an army. Lieutenant Unji couldn't sleep. She sat in her quarters aboard the Indomitable, surrounded by holographic displays. Each one showed a piece of history, a fragment of truth that had been hidden for almost 500,000 years. What she had discovered in the Galactic Council's archives made her sick. 3 days earlier, Unji had led a covert team to infiltrate the Council's data centers on Nixara Prime. It had been surprisingly easy. The Council had never expected humans to return. They had grown comfortable, lazy even. Their security was designed to stop current threats, not ghosts from the distant past. What Unji found changed everything. The Nexus Imperium had not acted alone. The attack on humanity had been planned by the Council's founding members. Humans had advanced too quickly. In just 200 years, they had gone from primitive chemical rockets to faster-than-light travel. They had developed weapons that rivaled species who had been in space for 10,000 years. The Council feared them, but there was more. Earth's defense systems had held for 200,000 years after humanity fled. The automated defenses were that good. Then suddenly they went offline. Someone had deactivated them from the inside, someone with access codes that only humans should have known. The archives contained a classified report. Earth had survivors. Not many, but enough to maintain the defense systems for millennia. Then they had made a deal with the Council. In exchange for deactivating the defenses, the survivors would be allowed to live on Earth undisturbed. The planet became a forbidden zone. No one could land there. No one could study it. The survivors were left alone. Unji had brought this information to Admiral Daehyun immediately. He had listened in silence, his face growing darker with each revelation. When she finished, he spoke just 2 words. Find them. Now, Unji stood on the bridge as the fleet approached Earth. The planet looked beautiful from orbit. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds. It looked almost exactly like the ancient photographs from before the departure. But the cities were gone. Where billions of humans had once lived, only jungle and forest remained. Sir, the sensor officer called out. The defense systems are not responding. They're still offline. Daehyun nodded. Prepare a landing team. I want Captain Minho to lead it. Take Commander Yuna with you, and Lieutenant Unji. If there are survivors down there, we need to find them. Captain Ji-won, who had been granted permission to accompany the human fleet, spoke up. Admiral, I request permission to join the landing team. My people have records of Earth's geography from before the departure. I can help navigate. Daehyun studied the Valorian captain. She had been honest with them from the beginning. Her people had suffered for trying to help humanity. Perhaps it was right that she witness what they found. Permission granted, Captain. The landing team assembled in the shuttle bay. Captain Minho checked his equipment one last time. He wore light armor, designed to protect against both weapons and environmental hazards. Beside him, Commander Yuna did the same. She looked nervous, which was unusual. Yuna was normally fearless. What's wrong? Minho asked. Yuna shook her head. I'm about to set foot on Earth, the place our ancestors fled from, the place we've dreamed about for 3,000 years. Wouldn't you be nervous? Minho smiled. Terrified, actually. The shuttle descended through the atmosphere. Below them, the ruins of Old Seoul became visible. The city had been built over and over again throughout human history. Now it was barely recognizable. Trees grew through buildings. Vines covered ancient streets. Nature had reclaimed everything. Lieutenant Unji studied her scanners. I'm picking up power signatures. Very faint, but they're there. Someone is using technology down there. The shuttle landed in what had once been a central plaza. The landing team emerged carefully. The air was breathable exactly as it had been 450,000 years ago. Earth's atmosphere had remained stable. The automated systems had maintained it even after going offline. Captain Jiwan looked around in wonder. It's beautiful. Sad but beautiful. They moved through the ruins. Ancient buildings towered above them, their surfaces covered in plant growth. Birds sang in the trees. Small animals scurried away at their approach. Earth was alive, just not with humans anymore, or so they thought. Commander Yuna saw the movement first. A figure, watching them from the shadow of a ruined building. Human-shaped, but something was different about the proportions. The figure turned and ran. "Wait," Yuna shouted. "We're not here to hurt you." But the figure was gone. Minho signaled his team to follow. They tracked the runner through the ruins, moving quickly but carefully. The figure was fast, incredibly fast. It moved through the jungle-covered city like it had been born there, because it had been. They found the entrance to an underground complex hidden beneath the ruins of an old subway station. The door was open, clearly left that way deliberately. An invitation, or a trap. Minho led the team down. The corridor was lit by bioluminescent plants that grew along the walls. Not natural plants, but engineered ones. Someone had designed them specifically for this purpose. The corridor opened into a vast underground chamber. Thousands of people lived there. They looked human, but different. Their skin had patterns that shifted color. Their eyes were larger. Their bodies were leaner, more adapted to moving through tight spaces. An old woman stood at the center of the chamber waiting for them. She was tiny, barely 5 feet tall, but she carried herself with absolute authority. When she spoke, everyone in the chamber fell silent. "So," the old woman said, "the ones who fled have finally returned. Welcome home, strangers. I am Grandmother Bora. I speak for the Keepers of Earth." Yunji stepped forward. "Grandmother, I am Lieutenant Yunji. We are representatives of the Earth Expeditionary Fleet. We left 450,000 years ago to escape destruction. We have returned to reclaim our homeworld." Grandmother Bora's eyes were cold. "Reclaim? You abandoned Earth, you left us behind. We are the ones who stayed. We are the ones who survived. Earth is ours now, not yours." The words hit like a physical blow. Minho felt his breath catch. They had never considered this. In all their planning and all their dreams of return, they had never imagined that humans still lived on Earth, that those humans would see them as invaders. Commander Yuna tried to explain. "Grandmother, our ancestors didn't want to leave. They were forced to flee. The Galactic Council tried to destroy humanity. The evacuation saved our species, and left us to die," Bora said bitterly. "My ancestors watched your ships leave. They were not chosen for evacuation. They were abandoned. They survived the Imperium attack through luck and determination. They rebuilt. They adapted. We changed ourselves to survive on this world. We became one with Earth. And now you return with your ships and your weapons to take what we protected." Captain Jiwan spoke gently. "Grandmother Bora, I am Captain Jiwan of the Valorian people. We remember the humans who left. We also remember those who stayed. My people have records of your survival. We tried to help, but the Council forbade it. Many of my ancestors died trying to reach you." Bora's expression softened slightly. "The Valorians. Yes, we remember your kindness. Some of your people managed to send us supplies in the early years. They risked much to help us. We have not forgotten." Lieutenant Yunji brought up a holographic display. "Grandmother, I have discovered something in the Council archives. 200,000 years ago, your ancestors made a deal with the Council. They deactivated Earth's defense systems in exchange for being left alone." "Is this true?" Silence fell over the chamber. Grandmother Bora looked at Yunji for a long moment. Finally, she nodded. "Yes, it is true. We were dying. The defense systems consumed enormous power. We could not maintain them and feed our people. The Council offered a choice: turn off the defenses and live in peace, or keep them running and starve. What would you have done?" Minho felt anger rising in his chest. "You betrayed us. You gave the Council access to Earth." "We survived," Bora said firmly. "That was our priority. You chose to run. We chose to adapt. Either choice was wrong, but do not judge us for doing what we had to do." Admiral Daehyun's voice came through their communicators. "Landing team, return to the ship. We have a situation in orbit. The Council fleet has arrived." Grandmother Bora heard the message too. She smiled, but there was no humor in it. "So they come to destroy Earth again. This time, with all of us on it. Fleet, humans, and keepers together. Perhaps that is fitting. Perhaps we should have been together from the beginning." Commander Yuna made a decision. Grandmother, we can evacuate your people. Get them to safety before the battle begins. Bora shook her head. No, we will not leave Earth again. We stayed for 450,000 years. We will stay now. But if you want to protect this world, you will need our help. The defense systems may be offline, but we know how to reactivate them. We are the keepers. Earth's protection is our purpose. Minho looked at Yuna. Yuna looked at Yunji. They all understood. Two branches of humanity, separated by time and circumstance, were about to fight together for the first time in almost 500,000 years. The Galactic Council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. 300,000 warships filled the space around Earth. They came from every corner of the galaxy. The Council had called in every favor, activated every treaty, and mobilized every ally. They would not lose Earth again. Chancellor Vrexus commanded the fleet from his flagship, the Eternal Dawn. He was Heliodan, a species that had ruled the Council for over 200,000 years. His species was proud. They did not lose. They would not start now, not to a primitive species that should have died long ago. Send a message to the human fleet, Vrexus ordered. Tell them to surrender or be destroyed. They have 1 hour to decide. On the Indomitable, Admiral Daehyun received the message. He read it without expression, then deleted it. He had no intention of surrendering. He had not come this far, waited this long just to give up now. Commander Yuna stood beside him. Sir, the landing team has returned. They brought someone with them. Grandmother Bora, leader of the Earth survivors. She wants to speak with you. Daehyun turned. An old woman walked onto the bridge, escorted by Captain Minho and Lieutenant Yunji. She looked tiny compared to the fleet humans, who had been genetically enhanced over 3,000 years. But her eyes were sharp and she walked with confidence. Admiral, Bora said, I am told you command this fleet. I am told you wish to reclaim Earth. I also hear that a council fleet waits to destroy all of us. So, I have a question for you. Are you willing to work with the people you call abandoned, or will pride make you fight alone? Daehyun studied her. This woman's ancestors had survived when his had fled. They had adapted to Earth while his people adapted to fold space. Both had done what was necessary to survive. Perhaps it was time to stop seeing each other as separate. Grandmother, Daehyun said, what do you propose? Bora smiled. The defense systems, we can reactivate them. They were designed to protect Earth from exactly this kind of attack. But we will need your help. The reactors require power sources we cannot provide. Your ships can supply what we need. Commander Yuna stepped forward. How long to bring the systems online? 2 hours, Bora said. Maybe less if your engineers are as good as you claim. Daehyun made his decision. Do it, Captain Minho. Take a team to the surface. Work with the keepers. Get those defenses online. Commander Yuna, prepare the fleet for combat. We need to hold off the council for 2 hours. The bridge erupted into activity. Officers called out orders. Ships began moving into defensive positions. In the background, the countdown timer appeared. 1 hour until the council's deadline expired. Captain Minho returned to Earth with Grandmother Bora. She led him to a hidden facility deep underground. Ancient machines filled enormous chambers. They had not been activated in 200,000 years, but the keepers had maintained them perfectly. Bora's people moved through the facility with practiced efficiency. They knew every system, every control panel, every power conduit. They had spent their entire lives preparing for this moment, even though they never thought it would come. Here, Bora said, pointing to a massive power coupling. Your ship needs to connect here. Can you do it? Minho examined the connection. It was ancient human technology, but the principles were the same. Yes, it will take time, but we can do it. He contacted the Silent Thunder. Sora, I need you to bring the ship down. I'm sending coordinates. We need to provide power to the planetary defense grid. Sora's voice came back immediately. Captain, we're in the middle of a battle zone. Landing will make us vulnerable. I know, Minho said. But without these defenses, we lose Earth. Do it. In orbit, the battle began. Chancellor Vrexus gave the order to attack. The Council fleet advanced in waves. They expected an easy victory. They outnumbered the humans 100 to 1. They had superior numbers, proven tactics, and centuries of combat experience. They were completely unprepared for what happened next. The human fleet did not fight like any enemy the Council had faced before. Their ships moved through space in impossible ways, appearing and disappearing as they shifted in and out of dimensional folds. They fired weapons that tore holes in reality itself, sending enemy ships to places that didn't exist. Lieutenant Jihoon led the fighter squadrons. He was young, barely 30 years old, but he flew like he had been born in a cockpit. His squadron, the Wraith Wing, specialized in hit-and-run attacks. They would appear behind enemy formations, destroy key targets, and vanish before return fire could reach them. Wraith Wing, this is lead, Jihoon transmitted. Target the command ships. Make them blind. The fighters dove into the Council fleet like sharks into a school of fish. They moved so fast that enemy sensors couldn't track them. They fired quantum torpedoes that phased through shields and destroyed ships from the inside. In minutes, they had eliminated 30 command vessels. The Council fleet began to panic. Their formations broke apart. Ships collided with each other, trying to evade an enemy they couldn't see. Chancellor Vrexus watched his perfect battle plan fall apart. "Impossible," he whispered. "How are they doing this?" His tactical officer had no answer. The human technology was beyond anything they understood. It was like fighting ghosts. On the Indomitable, Commander Yuna coordinated the defense. Her screen showed the tactical situation. The Council fleet was in chaos, but there were still so many of them. Eventually, sheer numbers would prevail. They needed those planetary defenses online. "Captain Minho," she transmitted. "How much longer?" On the surface, Minho watched as the silent thunder connected to the ancient power couplings. Sparks flew as modern technology interfaced with systems that predated the Galactic Council itself. Keeper engineers worked alongside fleet technicians. For the first time in almost 500,000 years, both branches of humanity worked together. 10 minutes, Minho replied. "The systems are charging. But Yuna, there's a problem." "What kind of problem?" "These defenses were designed to protect against conventional attacks. The Council has weapons that can destroy planets. If they decide to use them, these defenses won't be enough." Yuna felt ice in her stomach. She had seen the intelligence reports. The Council had stellar igniters, weapons that could trigger stars to explode. They had planet crackers that could split worlds in half. If they decided that denying Earth to humanity was worth destroying it, nothing could stop them. "Keep working," Yuna said. "We'll deal with that if it happens." But she knew it would happen. She knew the Council well enough. They would rather destroy Earth than let humanity reclaim it. It was the same thinking that had led to the original attack 450,000 years ago. Some species never learned. Lieutenant Yunji was working frantically in her station. She had accessed the Council's communication network during the battle. What she discovered made her blood run cold. Chancellor Vrexus had already given the authorization. 3 stellar igniters were being positioned around the Sol system. If the battle turned against the Council, they would activate the weapons. The sun would go supernova. "Earth and everything in the system would be destroyed, Admiral," Yunji called out. "We have a major problem." She explained what she had found. Admiral Daehyun listened without interruption. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. "Commander Yuna, prepare an assault team. I want Captain Jiwon included. We need to capture or destroy those igniters before they can activate." Captain Jiwon had been listening. She stepped forward. "Admiral, my ship is fast. If you give me a strike team, we can reach the igniters. But it will be a one-way mission. We won't be able to escape once the devices are destroyed." "I know," Daehyun said softly. "I'm not ordering you to do this, Captain. I'm asking," Jiwon smiled. It was a sad smile. "My people tried to help humanity once. We failed, many died. Perhaps this is our chance to finally succeed." "I volunteer, Admiral," Commander Yuna spoke up. "I'm going with her. This is my plan. I should be there to see it through." Daehyun wanted to refuse. Yuna was his best strategist. He needed her. But he saw the determination in her eyes. She had made her decision. "Take the best team you can assemble," Daehyun said. "And Yuna? Come back alive." "That's an order," Yuna saluted. "I'll do my best, sir." On the surface, the planetary defenses came online. Massive weapon platforms rose from hidden underground silos. Energy shields surrounded the planet. Defensive satellites that had been dormant for 200,000 years activated and moved into position. Grandmother Bora stood in the control center, watching the displays. Tears ran down her face. For the first time in countless generations, Earth was protected again. The Keepers had fulfilled their purpose. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Captain Minho put a hand on her shoulder. "Thank you, Grandmother." Without your people, we would have lost. Bora shook her head. Without your fleet, we would have been destroyed. We both needed each other. Perhaps that's how it should always have been. In orbit, the battle shifted. The Council fleet hit the planetary defenses and recoiled. Weapons that could destroy cities bounced harmlessly off shields. Ships that tried to approach the planet were destroyed by defensive satellites. Earth was safe, but Commander Yuna knew the real battle was just beginning. Somewhere in the darkness of space, 3 stellar igniters waited, and she was about to fly straight into a suicide mission to stop them. Commander Yuna stood in the launch bay of the Indomitable. Around her, the strike team prepared for what they all knew was a suicide mission. 20 volunteers, the best fighters humanity had. They wore advanced combat suits that could survive in space. They carried weapons that could cut through any known material. But none of them expected to return. Captain Ji-won approached. Her silver Valorian skin seemed to glow in the harsh lighting. Commander, my ship is ready. The Cosmic Dawn may not look like much, but she's fast. We can reach the igniters before the Council knows we're coming. Yuna nodded. She had studied the intelligence reports dozens of times. 3 stellar igniters positioned at different points around the Sol system. Each one could trigger the sun to explode. Chancellor Vrexus controlled them directly from his flagship. If the battle went against him, he would activate them rather than accept defeat. How long until we reach the first igniter? Yuna asked. 20 minutes at maximum speed, Ji-won replied. But Commander, there's something you should know. The igniters are heavily defended. Even if we destroy one, we might not reach the others in time. Yuna had expected this. Then we'll need help. Lieutenant Yoonji, are you monitoring? Yoonji's voice came through the communicator. Yes, Commander. I've located all 3 igniters in the Council's network. I'm sending their positions to your team now. Can you disable them remotely? There was a pause. No, they're isolated systems. Someone needs to physically destroy them. But Commander, I found something else. The Council has 47 other igniters positioned throughout the galaxy. They were planning to use them to threaten multiple systems if humanity didn't surrender. Yuna felt a chill. 47? That's mass genocide, Yoonji finished. They were willing to destroy 50 inhabited star systems to stop us. But there's good news. I managed to send a virus into their network 3 days ago. 47 of the 50 igniters are already disabled. They just don't know it yet. For the first time in hours, Yuna smiled. Lieutenant, you're a genius. I learned from the best, Commander. But those last 3 are protected by different security. They're under Vrexus's direct control. You'll have to handle them manually. The strike team boarded the Cosmic Dawn. The ship was small, designed for exploration rather than combat. But as Ji-won had said, it was fast. They launched into the chaos of the battle. All around them, the war raged. Human ships danced through space, destroying Council vessels with impossible precision. Lieutenant Ji-hoon's fighters continued their devastating attacks. The Council fleet was down to 200,000 ships, but they kept fighting. The Cosmic Dawn accelerated toward the first igniter. It appeared on their sensors, a massive cylindrical structure floating near Jupiter. Defensive platforms surrounded it. Energy shields protected it from attack. This is going to be difficult, Ji-won said. Those shields will stop any weapon we have. Yuna studied the readings. Then we go inside. Ji-won, can you phase us through the shields using your dimensional drive? Theoretically, yes. But it's risky. If the timing is wrong, we'll be torn apart. Do it. Ji-won adjusted the controls. The Cosmic Dawn shimmered and vanished from normal space. For a moment, they existed in multiple dimensions at once. Yuna felt her stomach turn. Reality bent around them. Then they were through, materializing inside the shield perimeter. Alarms blared on the igniter platform. Defense drones launched toward them. Yuna's team was ready. They opened the airlock and jumped into space, firing their maneuvering jets. The drones exploded under precise weapon fire. Yuna landed on the igniter's surface. Her team spread out, searching for the access point. They found it quickly, a maintenance hatch on the cylinder's side. They forced it open and entered. Inside, the igniter was a maze of conduits and machinery. At its center, a quantum reactor hummed with barely contained power. Yuna placed explosive charges at key structural points. Everyone out. This whole thing is going to blow in 2 minutes. They evacuated quickly. The Cosmic Dawn picked them up and accelerated away. Behind them, the igniter exploded in a brilliant flash. The debris would burn up in Jupiter's atmosphere. 1 down, Ji-won said. 2 to go. But the Council had noticed them now. Ships moved to intercept the cosmic dawn. Jiwan pushed her ship to maximum speed, but they couldn't outrun everything. On the Indomitable, Admiral Daehyun watched the tactical display. Yuna's team was in trouble. The Council ships were closing in. If they were destroyed before reaching the other igniters, Earth would still die. "Send the Wraithwing," Daehyun ordered. "Tell Lieutenant Jihoon to clear a path for Commander Yuna." Jihoon received the order and smiled. "Wraithwing, form on me. We're going to make some noise." The fighters dove into the Council ships pursuing the cosmic dawn. They moved so fast they appeared as streaks of light. Quantum torpedoes found their marks. Enemy ships exploded. The path cleared. The cosmic dawn reached the second igniter, this one positioned near Saturn. The same tactic worked. Phase through the shields, destroy from the inside, escape. 2 down. But the third igniter was different. It was positioned directly above Earth, protected by Vrexus's flagship and 100 escort vessels. There was no way to reach it without fighting through them all. Yuna stared at the tactical display. "We can't fight that many ships, even with the Wraithwing supporting us." Jiwan looked at her instruments. "Commander, I have an idea. It's insane, but it might work. What if we don't go around the fleet? What if we go through it?" "Through it?" "The dimensional drive can phase us through solid matter. Ships, shields, even the igniter itself. If I can calibrate it correctly, we can materialize inside the igniter and destroy it from within." Yuna understood. "But you'll need time to calibrate. Time we don't have." 30 seconds, Jiwan said. "Can you buy me 30 seconds? Yuna activated her communicator. "All units, this is Commander Yuna. We need a distraction. Hit that fleet with everything you have. Give us 30 seconds. The response was immediate. Every human ship in range turned toward Vrexus's fleet. Lieutenant Jihoon led the charge. Admiral Daehyun brought the Indomitable forward. Even the planetary defenses joined in, firing at maximum range. The Council fleet was overwhelmed. Ships exploded by the dozen. Shields collapsed under the concentrated fire. Vrexus screamed orders, but his fleet was in chaos. On the cosmic dawn, Jiwan worked frantically. Her hands flew over the controls. 20 seconds, 25, 28, now. Jiwan shouted. The cosmic dawn vanished. It appeared inside the third igniter, materializing in the reactor chamber. Yuna didn't waste time. She threw every explosive charge they had at the reactor core. "Go," she screamed. But the dimensional drive was overheating. Jiwan tried to activate it, but the systems were failing. They had phased through too much matter. The drive couldn't do it again. They were trapped. Captain Jiwan looked at Yuna. Their eyes met. Both understood. This was always how it would end. "It's been an honor," Jiwan said quietly. "The honor was mine," Yuna replied. The charges detonated. The igniter exploded. The cosmic dawn was caught in the blast. But as the ship began to break apart, something impossible happened. The Indomitable appeared beside them, its shields extended. The massive flagship had moved faster than physics should allow, crossing the distance in seconds. Its shields wrapped around the dying cosmic dawn, protecting it from the worst of the explosion. "Beam them aboard," Admiral Daehyun roared. "Now!" Transport beams locked onto the cosmic dawn's crew. They materialized in the Indomitable's transport bay just as their ship disintegrated. Yuna collapsed to her knees, breathing hard. Jiwan lay beside her, bleeding from several wounds but alive. "You crazy fool," Yuna whispered, though she didn't know if she was talking about Daehyun or herself. With the igniters destroyed, the battle turned. Chancellor Vrexus had no more threats. His fleet was broken. He had one choice left: surrender or die. He chose surrender. 3 days later, representatives from all species gathered on Earth, not in orbit. Not on some neutral station, on Earth itself, in the ruins of Old Sol where humanity had once thrived. Ambassador Taeyong stood before the assembled delegates. He looked old and tired, but his voice was strong. "For 450,000 years you thought you had won. You thought humanity was gone, erased from history. But we survived. We adapted. We returned. Now we stand here on our homeworld and we ask, what comes next?" Chancellor Vrexus knelt in chains. "Execute me if you want. My people will understand. I did what I thought was necessary." Taeyong shook his head. "No, we will not execute you. We will not become what you feared we were. Instead, you will face trial. You will tell the truth about what happened 450,000 years ago. You will answer for your crimes. But you will live. Grandmother Bora stood beside Taeyong. She spoke to the assembled delegates. For countless generations, my people survived on Earth alone. We thought we were the last humans. We adapted. We changed. We became something new. And now we learn our cousins survived too in their own way. Both branches of humanity are here. Both have a right to this world. The Galactic Council was dissolved. In its place, a new organization formed, the Confederacy of Free Worlds. Every species had equal representation. Humanity, both fleet and keeper, took their place as founding members. Admiral Daehyun retired. He had done what his ancestors asked. He had brought humanity home,